Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy, and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for July 9th through 15th. Let's get started. The first thing we sold was on Mercari. It was a vintage bottle of Escada men's cologne. It was about half full, it had no lid. We had gotten this at a garage sale for just 50 cents and it sold for $129 on best offer. We got positive feedback on that. This is actually the second time that we've sold this item. The first time we sold it, it had some leakage during shipment and the buyer wanted to return it because of that. So we accepted the return, no problem, and relisted it. And it resold, so we kind of, learned a lesson with that first sale. And now when we sell, especially used bottles of cologne or perfume, which don't list those on eBay, only list them on Mercari because you can also not list on anything flammable on Poshmark. So if you list used cologne on Mercari, we always even with new cologne, if it's not all boxed up or anything, we always tape the lid shut and just put tape all around the outside of it, all around the top and the outside of it, so that it might not completely eliminate any leakage, but will prevent that as much as possible. And I also now include a statement in my listing that says, this is a used bottle of perfume or cologne, and while we cannot prevent 100% guarantee against leakage during shipment, we will do our best to protect against it. So that hopefully will, prepare buyers for what to expect in that instance. We also double bag it and, very securely bubble wrap that item. Next up was another Mercari sale. This was a brand name that I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it was a really cute toddler 18-month rainbow stripe hooded windbreaker. I got this at a garage sale for $2. I picked it up not based on the brand at all, just because I thought it was really cute. And it sold for $16 even on best offer. We got positive feedback on that. Next up, all of the sales are eBay sales. The first one was a 2019 Kinder Joy Justice League 2-inch Aquaman minifigure. We got this out of a thrift store toy bag. It was just 19 cents and it sold for $6.66. I'm sure the buyer was trying to be funny with that. But this was a very tiny little toy. I mean, it was teeny, teeny, tiny, so it didn't cost anything to ship. We still made profit on that item. Next up was a 150 all-time favorite songs by VeggieTales. It was a brand new sealed CD. We got this in the Goodwill bins for $1.18 and it sold for $15 even on best offer. Next up was a 3-yard piece of black velour fleur-de-lis burnout knit fabric. I had purchased this a long time ago for a project that I was going to do and then didn't end up using it. So this was my own personal item. We sold this for $37.99. This is extremely heavy, nice fabric. Unfortunately, the buyer got it, said it wasn't going to work for her project, ended up returning it, and we've got it relisted. Next up was a Disney Princess 12-inch Anna doll. It was replacement clothes. There was a stain on the back of the top, which we disclosed. We got this out of a garage sale box of different various Barbie clothes. We had paid 40 cents for it, and this sold for $10.79. Next up was a Hoover wind tunnel powered hand tool vacuum cleaner attachment. It was brand new in the package. We got this at a garage sale. We paid only 25 cents for it. We got it in a big box of different vacuum cleaner attachments and stuff. We really purchased it because it had a lot of curvy items in it. We were not purchasing it for this item at all, but this is the first thing that sold. It sold very quickly for $27.99. And I did notice that this particular item had a good sell-through. So if you ever see any of these new in the package, they might be worth picking up. Next up was one of the maps. We got a lot of maps out of that big box of maps at that one garage sale. They've been selling really well. This was a 1986 Gausha Travel publication Colorado Springs city map. We paid just 9 cents for this one, and it sold for $12.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was one of the fantasy novelty Civil War $100,000 fake money bills. We got this at the other business that we own, and this one sold for $8.99. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was a 2002 Mattel Fisher-Price Little People 3.5-inch yellow car. We got this out of a thrift store toy bag. We paid just 19 cents for it, and it sold for $11.99. Next up was a pair of Old Navy women's knit shorty lounge shorts. We got these out of a storage unit. They sold for $9.68 on offer to buyer, and we had paid just 28 cents for those, and we got positive feedback on those. Next up was a 2021 Pokemon Gengar Trick or Trade Halloween booster card. I included this here because this did not come from my husband's personal collection. This is actually something that we purchased at a garage sale. We paid 14 cents for it, and this one sold for $2.29. Next up was a Disney Raya and the Last Dragon 14-inch toddler doll replacement hat and sword only. This was in a thrift store toy bag. We paid 20 cents for it, and it sold for $18.99. So those replacement toy items, there is money to be made there. You just got to do the work on it. And sometimes some of the items are really long tail because you just have to have the right person coming along looking for it. But we made good profit on this one. Next up was a Cool Night by Paul Davis 1981 cassette. It was used. We tested it and it worked. We got this out of a thrift store and we paid 27 cents for it. And it sold for $19.99. Not all used cassettes will sell for that high. This one must have just kind of been a rare title. Next up was a vintage cult photography photo negative enlarging focus scope. This came out of that church rummage sale where we got all of the equipment for photography and negative enlarging. This sold for $19.99. That was our full asking price, and we had paid just $1 for this. That was a great purchase. Next up was a Vans men's size large black short sleeve now or never original t-shirt. It looked brand new. It looked like it had never been worn or washed, but we listed it as used because we couldn't tell for sure. We got this at a garage sale for just 50 cents and it sold for $10 even on best offer. We got positive feedback on it. Next up was a vintage Lyman O House precision loading scale with magnetic damping action. I don't know what any of that means. That's what was on the box. We got this out of that church rummage sale with all of the photography equipment. We paid just $1 for it, and this sold immediately for our full asking price of $124.99. Next up was a Shein women's medium white cropped ribbed raglan shirt or sweater. We got this at a storage auction for just 28 cents, and this one sold for $12 even. We list everything that we get out of a storage unit usually, unless it has stains or damage on it, because our cost of goods is so low, we can sell it for low. People who are looking for inexpensive items on eBay, this is the kind of item that they're looking for, and it will sell if you list it at the right price. And if your cost of goods is low, you can still make a profit. So this is a perfect example of that. To us, it's worth our time to make the $5 on it. Next up was a 7-piece lot of 2006 Fisher-Price Loving Family dollhouse furniture and dolls. Some of them did have flaws, like the little boy kind of seemed like maybe a cat or something had chewed on its hands. And I don't remember, there was maybe a flaw on another doll. So we disclosed that. But we got this out of a thrift store toy bag. We paid just 26 cents for all of it. And it sold immediately for $18.88 on offer to buyer. Loving Family is definitely something to be on the lookout for. it will sell quickly. We are getting crazy bids on magic cards right now, so if you hear my phone buzzing, that's what that's all about. And we did get positive feedback on those Loving Family dolls. Next up was an item that my husband got at a garage sale, but before we move on to that, I'd like to pause for a moment and ask you, if you are not already subscribed, to consider subscribing to our channel with the notification bells on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. And if you haven't already hit that like button during this video, make sure you hit that like button. It is one of the best things you can do to let YouTube know that this is content that they should share out with other people. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe or to hit that like button and really helps us out. So we would really appreciate it. All right, let's move on to that next item on the list, which was a brand new in package Cards Against Humanity game that my husband found at a garage sale. It was sealed. He paid just $1 for it, and it sold for $18.68 on offer to buyer. Next up was a 2019 Mattel Barbie Dragon Empress doll headpiece or replacement crown. We found this at a garage sale. It was the same garage sale that we got the Anna doll replacement clothes. We had paid just 20 cents for this, and it sold for $14.98. I had a really hard time identifying this item, but posted it on a doll identification Facebook site, and they ended up identifying it immediately for me, which was worth it because we sold it for $15 and our cost of goods was just 20 cents, and we got positive feedback on it. Next up was a Pez Presidents of the United States Volume 1 Education Series set, brand new in package, of different Pez dispensers and candy. We got this at a garage sale. We paid 75 cents for it, and it sold for our full asking price of $23.99. Next up was a 7-pack of bamboo alto saxophone reeds. It was new, but there was an open box. I think maybe one was taken out. I can't exactly remember. We listed this quite a while ago. We had gotten this at a garage sale for $1, and it sold for its full asking price of $9.99. Next up was an Express men's black t-shirt that said "Read Between the Lines." We got this at out of a storage unit. We paid just 23 cents for it, and it sold for, I think it was our full asking price of $17.09, which was our full asking price minus a promotion we were running this particular month. Next up was a really good sale. This was a vintage 1997 men's gray Todd McFarlane comic promo medieval spawn graphic t-shirt. It was a single stitch shirt that we got at a garage sale for $3.28, and it was a very rare comic shirt that sold for a offer to buyer of $168.68. And we got positive feedback on that as well. It did take quite a while to sell. We had a lot of interest on it, but nobody wanted to spend how much it was worth until finally the right buyer came along and we got the right price on it and a lot of profit. So definitely worth the wait. Next up was a video game. It was called MotorStorm Apocalypse. It was for a Sony PlayStation 3. We got this out of that church rummage sale. We paid just 50 cents for it, and this sold really quickly for our full asking price of $15.99. Next up was a vintage bottle of Avon perfume. It was one of the collector bottles that's in a different collector shape. This one was in the shape of a white poodle. The cologne or perfume was called Unforgettable. We got this at an estate sale. We paid $5 for it, and this one sold for our full asking price of $17.99. Next up was a Gideon's Bible. This one was the revised Berkeley edition from 1977. We got this at a thrift store for 51 cents, and it sold for $15 even on best offer. Next up was one of the maps. This one was the 1998 Texas Forts Trail map and brochure. We got this at a garage sale. We paid just 9 cents for it. We had originally paid $5 for the entire box of maps that had so many maps in it. And this map sold for $10 even on best offer. Next up was a pair of So, which is a brand I think is sold at Kohl's. This was a pair of women's light wash, low-rise jeggings, denim, skinny jeans. We got these out of a storage unit. We paid just 28 cents for them, and they sold for our full asking price of $18.99. And we got positive feedback on those. Next up was a 16 by 14 matted hand-signed print called El Canon, or El Canyon maybe, by the artist Amado Murillo Pena Jr. from 1991. We got this from the other business that we own, which is a custom picture frame shop. This piece of art sold for $75 even, and we got positive feedback on that. Next up was a bound book of 6 issues of National Geographic magazine. We got this from a family member who gifted it to us to sell, so we had no cost, and this book sold for our full asking price of $29.99. Next up was a pair of jeans by the brand Cosmic Blue Love. They were light wash straight leg stretch jeans. These were actually mine. I no longer wore them, and they sold for $28.99, which was our full asking price. Next up was a pair of Banana Republic women's size 12 white Martin fit cuffed capri stretch pants. We got these from someone who we used to buy from through the Nextdoor app, but I don't hear from her anymore, so I don't know if she moved or what the deal is. But I had paid her $2.94 for these, and these pants sold for $19.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a 14 by 16 custom framed and autographed 8 by 10 photo of Josh Hamilton. We got this from the other business that we own, which is the custom picture frame shop, and this sold for $56.18 on offer to buyer. Next up was a pair of Banana Republic geometric square pattern shorts. We got these at a garage sale for $1, and they sold for $13.48 on offer to buyer. Next up was a tube of Bald Guys 4-ounce moisture gel for head and face. This is a discontinued health and beauty item that is very hard to find. If you watched our video that was the Chat GPT, we answer viewers' questions, or we answer eBay buyers' questions using the Chat GPT technology. This was featured on that. But we had a buyer contact us, or a potential buyer contact us, and tell us to slap ourselves because of what we were asking for this item. And we were, submitting the information to ChatGPT on how we could potentially answer difficult buyers, or not always difficult, but just different buyers' questions. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link that above and in the description box below. There is some comedy involved with that, so you might want to check that out. This item was featured in that. At the time, we had not sold it, but we did actually end up selling this item for our full asking price of $69.99. So he was wrong. We did not end up needing to slap ourselves over this. He needs to slap himself. But this belonged to my husband. He actually received this as a gift, I think from somebody who got it for free when the extreme couponing thing was going on. And they had gotten it for free through extreme couponing and, or something like that. I might be remembering this wrong or telling the story wrong, but anyway, we actually did not have any cost associated with it, and he didn't use it, and so we decided to sell it, and this is a discontinued item and sells at a premium now. So we sold it for $69.99. Next up was a vinyl record. It was called Busybody by Luther Vandross, and we got this at a thrift store for $1.03, and it sold for $12.78 on offer to buyer. Last but not least, I'll go over all of the collectible cards that sold. This week we only sold low value cards, meaning cards valued at $10 or under. We sold 3 cards this week for a total dollar value of $9.17. So now I want to briefly talk about what we did to increase our sales, because we have definitely been in the heart of summer slowdown. We've been in a slump, And we have been wanting to get rid of some merchandise that has gotten really stale in our store. So we had thought about a lot of different things that we might do. We had considered just taking the merchandise that was old out of our store and having a big garage sale, but that was not very appealing to us because it is very hot. As you know, it's hot everywhere. It is especially hot where we are located, which is in Texas. The idea of sitting outside at a garage sale was not very appealing to us. We had talked about just taking the merchandise out and donating it, but you know, that kind of goes against really what we want to do, which is ultimately keep items out of the landfill. So that was not that appealing to us. We had thought about really lowering the cost again on them to our very bottom dollar, taking off best offer, doing it that way. But we had already been lowering the cost on items and that did not seem to be moving anything. So ultimately, we had the idea that we would just leave our prices as is and use the eBay promotion, the eBay standard promoted listings, and promote at the recommended rate, but cap that at 10%. Because what we had been currently promoting our items at was at a much lower rate, usually around 4%. So I thought, promoting at 10%, or sometimes it promotes at a lower rate. Promoting at around 10% on most items, we would still be able to make enough of a profit for us to feel comfortable and move stuff out of our store, which was really our goal. So on items that had been listed for, I think I made it a year or more, I went in and I edited all of those listings to have the eBay recommended rate capping at 10%. And for about a week, we didn't really see much of a change. But after about a week, our sales definitely increased. We saw an increase in sales, and specifically, we saw an increase in sales on items that had been in our store for a long time. So it definitely worked. I mean, it hurts. It is like a stab in the heart to have to give eBay more of our money, and we do not like to do that, and that is not something that we plan on doing on new listings. We are not planning on promoting at a high rate like that. But for listings that get stale and old and that are just not moving any other way, it is something that you can do to move them out of your store rather than them just sitting there and not making you any money. This is making you money. I mean, at some point you have to make a decision on, am I just going to get rid of the item? Am I going to do something different other than eBay? Or, am I going to bite the bullet and promote it at a higher rate? And that's ultimately what we decided to do, and it worked. So I feel comfortable with that decision. But we are definitely not going to promote everything at that rate because we can't afford to. But it worked for us. Our sales have increased a lot, and we are getting rid of old merchandise, which is so awesome. So we are super happy with that decision, and hopefully our sales continue to be increased throughout the rest of the summer, and especially as we move into Q4, we will continue to experience high sales. So next week, I think you'll see that our sales continue to go up and up because our sales are like almost double this week what they were last week. So let's go over those totals. So our total number of sales was 43, which compared to last week wasn't double, but the actual dollar amount and our profit was nearly double. Our average sale price was $27.79. Our sales totaled $1,194.93, and our profit was $778.38. And I think last week our profit was like maybe 400 something. So that's, maybe not all the way double, but definitely a major improvement. And I definitely attribute it to our change in the promoted listings because those are the items, a lot of the items that we were selling were old items. So that's just something that we did, not recommending it for you to try necessarily, just sharing the experience that we had. Let me know what you guys do to increase your sales during summer slowdown in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and found anything helpful, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button with the notification bells turned on, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.